Welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today, wherever you are in the world? Welcome. I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying because Arsenal made history this morning, or this evening, depending on where you are in the world. I'm recording this straight after the match here on a cool but sunny Melbourne morning. Sunny, shiny, but damn, it's cold. So I'll try and keep this one short and sweet so I don't freeze outside. Arsenal 3-0 over Slavia Prague away in the Champions League. That is 4 out of 4 straight Champions League victories. And I've read post-match that Arsenal have made history tonight. The first time in the club's history since 1903 that we have kept 8 consecutive clean sheets, 8 straight wins. That's a phenomenal stat in and of itself. It's pretty mind-blowing, real, to Arsenal, with a penalty to Saka opening the scoring and then 2 goals to Merino in the second half. One of them being within the opening 25, 30 seconds of the second half. A fantastic finish from Merino. It really reminded me of his second goal, again assisted by Trossard, against Leicester, when he came into the team in February, early this calendar year. The man can finish. I've been saying that many, many times, that you put him in the team, whether he's a centre forward or he's at the left 8 position, attacking the box, timing his runs in. Like, the man finds the back of the net. He's just got a finish on him. It's hard, so hard to profile what actually is Mikel Merino. He's a bit of everything. I think we all know his limitations when he plays as a 9, and we're only doing it out of necessity because of all the injuries. It was in no one's plan to have Jesus, Havertz, and now Gyökeres all out injured at the same period of time, and that then we kind of forced to put Merino back in. And when I say forced, I mean, look, there is the option to play Trossard there, but unfortunately, we've also lost wing options in Martinelli and Madueke. So all of a sudden, you take out, what's that? If you include Odegaard, what's that? That's 7 attackers, 7 or 8 absences. So this kind of stuff, it's in no one's plan. I mean, as much as we want to, and as much as we have invested in the squad, and added so many players to add that squad depth, so we don't completely derail and collapse. It's not sustainable to be going into matches like this. And you look at the bench, and for the first time in a little while, I looked at that bench and I saw a similar pattern to last season, where there's a couple of goalkeepers and a host of academy players and defenders. I take nothing away from the players there, of course. I didn't realize that Kepa's injured. But if something happened to Raya here, you're back into sort of third choice academy style goalkeeping options. And then, of course, we have White, Mosquera, Lewis Skelly. We've got excellent defenders there. But in terms of game changers, I think there was Eza, and then you've got Dowman and Harriman and Nuss, with all credit to them, as fantastic as they are and their integration into the first team. This is not really sustainable. So we need some players back. And I'm hoping that there's some respite over this international break. Hopefully some players can rest and recuperate and accelerate their recovery. For those who are on the cusp of returning soon after, I think Madueke and Havertz are not too far away. Jesus a bit beyond that. Odegaard, it remains to be seen. So the point is that despite all these injuries, we're just finding a way. And that's really epitomized by Mikel Merino. He just finds a way. His second goal, I've got to say, I must say, that was pretty poor goalkeeping. If we'd conceded that goal, I mean, it's been so long since Arsenal have conceded a goal of any form or shots on target, but not too long ago, that's a type of goal that Arsenal would concede, and you look at it straight away, you think, oh, what's the goalkeeper doing? And every now and then when I see other teams do it, I'm so pleased that we have just completely eradicated that type of wild moment out of our system. We've got an excellent keeper. There's no chance Raya would spill that. He commands his box. He would come straight out with his big hands. He would grab that in one motion, and then straight away he'd spin around and look to release. So I'm so pleased that stuff is out of Arsenal's system. Touch wood. It was a terrible moment of goalkeeping. But you know what? Who cares? Because as much as you want to point to the goalkeeping, I think you also have to take some credit. You have to give some credit here to Arsenal that we got that ability to just force the pressure. Maybe there was some perceived pressure on that goalkeeper. Maybe he just didn't. He lost sight of his surroundings and his bearings, and the match state, the intensity of the quickness of the ball coming in, the lurking presence of Merino, who we all know the man can finish with his head or his left foot. and bang, 3-0, and it was game over. I'll just take this all the way back to the start in terms of selection I touched on because of all the absences. I think Arteta got this one right. I was wondering, is there an opportunity to sit down Rice because he is one yellow card away from being suspended for the Bayern Munich game? And with the way the referee was brandishing yellow cards, especially in the second half, maybe that played into his thinking to get Rice off on about the 80-minute mark because it was getting a bit out of control, wasn't it? Some of them were there. Speaking of Merino, I'm not sure he could have had too much to argue with his yellow card. He did sort of skive down the play. It looked, when you look at the still images, I'm not sure he can complain too much about that one. And who else copped one in the first half? It was Ethan. That's right. One area, yes, he kind of, it was a professional tackle. He kind of had to break up their counter attack. So those were fair enough. It wasn't quite the free-flowing game, was it? Speaking of one area, it's hard to judge his performance and the performance of some of the attacking players. Even Eza, when he came on in the second half for Ethan, wasn't really heavily involved. And I think that's very much down to the match state. Slavia Prague had an approach in mind, and I think the approach was make this as stop-start a game as possible. They were right in Arsenal's faces. Quite a physical match, a little bit spicy at times. I don't know too much about Slavia Prague, so I'm not going to pretend to know is this their natural game or not. But I think when Arsenal come now into town, that other teams are kind of forced into adjusting the way they play. I think their primary focus is to break up Arsenal's play, make it as difficult as possible, sit deep, stifle Arsenal in as many ways as possible. And it's just what we're going to deal with, and we've known that for a little while. And so far, I mean, we're dealing with it exceptionally well. We're still finding ways to score. I thought Saka was fantastic this game. It wasn't really a high volume, high passing, high touch kind of game. If you compared Arsenal's overall passes, total passes, those sort of statistics, this wouldn't rank very, very highly up there in terms of what we otherwise would see in Premier League matches and so on, because it just wasn't that kind of game. I looked at the touch map after, and you see the likes of Rice with pass. He's got his pass completions in around the sort of 40 total. So it's really hard to judge how well the likes of Waneri and so on played. I think as the game wore on, it did open up more and more. However, in that first half, I felt Arsenal did really, really well in that opening 15-minute block. It was a very high energy start to the match. It was end-to-end stuff. Both teams had attempts on goal inside the opening sort of 60, 90 seconds. It was strange. I knew the game would settle down at some point. I must say that the crowd was fantastic. The atmosphere was fantastic, and I do wonder if this is Arsenal are now. How do I say this without sounding too arrogant? Because Arsenal, as we know, we haven't won anything yet. Of course, I'm not saying anything outlandish with that. However, Arsenal seem to be a draw card at the moment. When I'll put it this way. Right now as I record this, Liverpool are hosting Real Madrid. That'll be one of the hottest tickets in town at the moment. It's the type of fixture, when it's announced and you see the fixture list and you automatically see Real Madrid are coming to town, and anyone who's a Liverpool fan would have just, as best as they could, booked their tickets, made their arrangements, chatted with their friends in their WhatsApp groups, where we're going to watch this match, whose house we're going to, which pub should we go to. It's the type of event that you just block out. And I wonder now if Arsenal are entering that realm, that when Arsenal are in town, I mean, you look at that stadium, it was packed. Their crowd was absolutely up for it. How good was that display behind the goal, by the way? When that happened around the sort of 30-minute mark on our broadcast in Australia, like, he had to tell me that that's a display from the Ultras, because it looked so good. It looked so realistic that I thought maybe it was a graphic that was placed on screen. I know it sounds pretty silly. I'm watching on my iPad at about 5 a.m. in the morning here in bed. So apologies that sounds a bit silly, but that's how good it was. Their crowd was right up for it. It was a very high energy start to the match. They were whistling a lot, placing a lot of pressure on the referee. The type of atmosphere that in times gone past, maybe Arsenal would have, I'm not sure crumbled would be the right word, but you can get drawn into that. You can get sucked in. You can start to make silly challenges, and you can start to let that get to you and get overawed by the occasion. But not this current team, not this Arsenal team at the moment. Saka wearing the armband, I think he really brought a sense of control to Arsenal, and we've seen an evolution here in many forms at Arsenal. I think Saka himself continues to evolve. Him a few seasons ago, he himself was very heavily involved in almost every aspect of play. A lot of sprints, a lot of energy expenditure. And we know now that at such a young age, that's only sustainable for so long. Saka is now finding ways to manage his way through an entire match. He's played a few 90-minute matches now in the past 3 to 4 weeks. Like, his load has been increasing and increasing. I know he was unwell about a fortnight or so ago, which impacted his performance that day. But Saka, he's just getting into a groove. He's getting into a lovely, nice rhythm. Touch wood. I don't want to say this and then something happens to him, of course, knowing our luck. But Saka is finding ways to shift gears even within a match. It doesn't mean he goes missing or anything like that, or he hides for 12, 15 minutes at a time. Not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that Saka is now just finding ways to keep energy in the tank, to reserve things under his belt, because when it's time to go and an opportunity comes, he's bang. He's foot on the pedal, he accelerates. And he had 4 shots on goal, I believe it was. Was it 4 shots on target and maybe more overall? But he was a threat. He was a threat throughout. And he just finds ways. The penalty, it was very well put away. Just on the penalty itself, it's the type of penalty, it's a type of handball thing that you see paid in the Champions League matches. If that was in the Premier League, I'm not quite so sure. Up until that point, we weren't really using our corners that well, I must say. Rice's delivery and Saka's delivery, perhaps not to the level that we've come to expect or assume from them. So I think maybe just the compound nature of corner after corner, repeated corners, maybe it just forced him into a bit of an error, because he didn't need to put his hand up, did he? That's what I'm trying to say, that the defender didn't need to put his hand up in that challenge. I think he had it covered anyway. He had the block going. But when you put on the still frame again, as soon as you see the referee go into the sidelines, you know it's going to be paid as a penalty. So we benefited, thankfully, and Saka put it away beautifully, 1-0 to Arsenal. And yeah, from there, I just didn't think we would. I didn't think we'd concede, because like we just at the moment we're not really conceding goals or shots on target. I will say, in terms of spiciness, again, I don't know too much about Slavia Prague, but who was there? Is it Huri? I pronounce it. Their centre forward, a very, very tall, physically imposing player. I heard on a broadcast here that he was suspended. He got a red card for punching a goalkeeper. I got to find footage of that. Like, my head was spinning when I heard that. What the? How do you even describe that? That's just crazy. But yeah, man, he had a temper on him. He was right into Hincapie's face right on halftime. Gabriel right there to separate them. Thankfully, we didn't react or do anything, or didn't. Thankfully, we didn't do anything too silly. In response, cool heads prevailed there, because Hincapie as well, from what we've seen so far. He does have a bit of an aggressive streak to him as well. Thankfully, though, nothing silly came about, and even some of those yellow cards that a few players were on, thankfully we didn't do anything silly, unnecessary towards the end and get a second yellow. So as the match wore on, a great moment for Max Dowman, the youngest player ever to feature in the Champions League at 15. That's amazing for him. What a moment. Mikel also gave some minutes to Harriman and Nuss. Like, what a week he's had, right? What a week they've both had. On a school night as well. It's a school night for both of them. 15 and 17 years old, away in Prague on a weeknight, playing the Champions League for your boyhood club, who you've been playing for, representing since you were 7 or 8 years old. Incredible, just absolutely incredible for them. I must be so proud for them, their families, themselves. I mean, just amazing, amazing stuff. And it's just great now that we can come through matches like this, despite all the injuries, and still manage the minutes of certain players and come away with another clean sheet, another win, 3 more points. That's 4 from 4 now. We're sitting in a very, very good position in the Champions League group stage, league stage, whatever they call it now. I'm not sure if we'll actually be on top. It all depends on goal difference, right? But +3 points and +3 goal difference, you'd imagine we're going to be in a very, very healthy position in that table. And And hopefully, again, if we just continue this trajectory, we can seal our top 8 spot. I think the top 4 of that top 8 position get the added benefit of the home legs in the second knockout fixture, the second leg of the knockout stages of the Champions League. So there's a big incentive there. Hopefully, we can secure that. And then you look at the last couple of matches in the Champions League group stage. Maybe there's an opportunity to manage the minutes of certain key players and give others and rotate heavily. But otherwise, look, it wasn't pretty. It doesn't need to be. If you've heard me before, you've probably heard me reference this, that I'm fine with these forgettable matches. Not all of them need to be memorable. We just need to get the job done, come through, win, clean sheets, 3 points, no added injuries, come through unscathed. Rest some players when we need to, manage the minutes. When the game was done, it was great that Mikel made those extra 4 substitutions. Get Timber off, get White in there, because they all need to be match ready, match prepared, because at any moment, we're going to need to call upon this squad. This squad has been built for a reason. It's because we are trying to gun for it all. We're trying to win multiple trophies. And that's the ambition of the club. And we need the players to be ready, because their moments definitely will come. So I'm going to wrap this one up. From there, it's getting windier and colder here outside. Thank you so much for listening. A great result for Arsenal as we keep doing the business. Away to Sunderland this weekend to round out this little period before the next international break. If we win there, Liverpool are playing Manchester City on the weekend as well. One of them will drop points. Wow. That would be something. So until then, I'll record again soon. Look after yourselves. Take care. Check in with your loved ones. If you could please like and subscribe on YouTube or leave me a review on Apple or Spotify, that'd be most appreciated. I'll talk to you again soon. Come on, Arsenal.